Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring the new release from Colorado Craft Company and Anita Duram. This is kind of a different style for her, which is pretty exciting. So I ended up using this set, which is the Mermaid and Seahorses, as well as the Seize the Day. It's actually S-E-A, like sea instead of C's. So super cute. And I did mine in a slimline format, basically so I could fit in my whole scene is pretty much what happened here. So I have it's 8.5 by, what is it, 3 3/4? 3 3/4. I think they're normally 3.5, but I make mine a smidge bigger just because, you know, I'm trying to fit more stuff in there and it'll still fit in a business size envelope. So, if I mailed cards, right? So anywho, I am going to be, as you could guess from the title of the video, I'm going to be combining my Copic markers with my Sketch Marker Brush Pros today. Here I just wanted to show you, so some of these larger stamp sets can get air bubbles. That's what was happening here. And my ink was catching the top part of the air bubble. And so if you just peel it up just a little bit, enough to release that air and then lay it back down, that will get rid of any of those air bubbles that maybe you might pick up from a larger image like this. So I'm stamping this down in ink that is safe for alcohol markers. So I'm stamping the bottom portion first so I can get a good idea of where my little seagulls need to go. This is something else I wanted to share with you. So I don't spend a lot of time cleaning my stamps because I'm lazy, but I found that this little scrubber from Hero Arts actually works really well for me because I can clean them right on my Misty. Back in the day, like 100 years ago when I started stamping, I used to have to like take them and scrub them in like this little case thing, and I had a scrubber on one side and then a white part, well, it was supposed to be white but mine never was, on the other side. But I have found this little scrubber works really well, so I just spritz my stamp right on the door with their stamp cleaner, which is called Ultra Clean, and then but you could use, you know, whatever stamp cleaner, and then I scrub it with that little scrubber, I wipe it off with a baby wipe, and then it's actually clean. So awesome. Anyway, here the seagulls are actually two different stamps. Like they come in the same stamp set, but they're separate images, so you could use one or the other or both. I chose to use both, and my game plan was to have them kind of sticking up out of the water, landing on these little posts, and then this whole world of mermaids and seahorses underneath. I wanted the waterline to continue across the top of the card, so I'm just using kind of like the bottom corner of this side. I do end up going in with a pen just to kind of add in a few more lines to connect to the two, but this is giving me pretty good guidance. So here's me connecting them, and then we're going to get into a very minimal amount of ink blending and then the coloring. So this video is actually part of a blog hop for Colorado Craft Company. They are awesome and they do giveaways. So they give away one set per stop on the hop. So lots of chances to win. Here, you guys know that I love ink blending, and I find that it is the fastest way, and it saves me on quite a bit of alcohol from my markers, because typically I don't do an entire background with alcohol markers. However, I don't have any dyes for this set. I don't even know if there are dyes, to be honest. And I wasn't going to do the masking. Did you see that seaweed? No way am I cutting that out. So I knew I was going to have to do it all with markers. I have the pop art set from Sketch Marker, if you did not see my review on that. And today I am combining the two of them. So I am using what I have with my sketch markers, and then I am supplementing with my Copic markers where I need to. These work beautifully together. There is no reason why you could not use them together. And so here, this entire card was done with both, with the combination of them. So here in the beginning, it looks a little funny because I'm having to extend these posts down, but I can't just have them, like, the water is not opaque. So I have to be able to see some of it until it gets quote unquote dark enough that you wouldn't be able to see the bottom of the posts. So it looks funny in the beginning, but hang tight, it'll look better. Let's go back to the blog hop. So there's one stamp set given away per stop on the hop. And then there's also, if you decide that you want to purchase something from the release, if you use the link below, the one that says Colorado Craft Store, that link next to it, one person from each affiliate, like if you purchase with through my affiliate, you will have a chance to win the entire release. So that is also something that's pretty cool. They kind of do for their affiliates to encourage people to use those. And I, as a designer, totally appreciate that. So here I'm going in, these posts have these lines that are already drawn in by the illustrator, by Anita. And so I'm just going in with a couple of different colors of browns to add in some shading and get some texture. Basically the point where these lines meet, I'm just deciding, there's no right or wrong way, okay? Just decide which one's going to be on top and then add shading to the one that's going to be on bottom is pretty much the game plan that I have going into it. Originally, I stopped the two darker colors right at the waterline, and I realized I did need to carry them down just a little bit into the water to make it look more realistic. So I will be doing that here shortly. But yeah, so can I just say how excited I am to be working with something that's not snowmen? Can we just talk about that? Like, winter is such a weird time for me because once Christmas is over, it's like everything is Christmas, 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 and then you're just left with like January, February. What are you supposed to do in January and February? We've talked about this and my struggle with it. So for them to come out with like a super fun release that has nothing to do with snow, I am here for. I am totally here for it. So yeah, what's been going on in my life? There's just a lot of coloring in this. For my seagulls, instead of combining them, I did just pick out the grays. When you're coloring something white, you're really just adding in the shadows. And so I'm going in. The thing that is different for me for these markers is with Copics, like a C1 is a super light gray. And then they, progressively get darker. C3 is lighter. C5 is a mid-tone. C7 is dark. C9 is super dark. Theirs is the reverse. So it kind of throws me off. So what did I use here? The C7 is a light gray instead of a dark gray. And the C1 is super dark. So, very strange. For skin tones, I have, like I said, I have the pop art set, which is much more on the brighter colors. And somebody else had made a comment in my previous video that they struggled a little bit with the skin tones for the sketch markers that they had purchased. This is a great time to supplement with markers you already have. So my two lightest colors are the sketch markers, and they worked really well. But my shadow colors for her skin tone were my Copic markers. I will be interested to see as this progresses. I'm just going to be very candid with you. I purchased the, I think it's OLO or Oleo. I'm not really sure which. I purchased those markers recently. They're still in the mail. And then I have also talked to the Ohuhu, I think is. I keep saying it the same way. I don't know how to say it differently. I've talked to them as well about possibly reviewing their markers. So I am not marrying myself to anything, but I do have to say that I am pretty impressed with these sketch markers. So we'll see how the rest of it kind of shakes out and if there's any differences. With this particular mermaid, you can see there is no clear line of where her fins, her tail starts, and her body ends. And so I just did some shading up underneath her hair, knowing that I would be able to bring her tail up and then blend that into it at some point. So I'm not stressing about where that's ending. She is facing down, so the majority of her shadows are going to be like up under her hair. And then for her arms, because the light would be coming from above, I did a shadow down below her arm. So that's where we're at with that. As far what's been going on in my life, I just feel like it's been crazy. It's been kind of wild. Thank you, let me just say, because we're talking about that sketch marker video a little bit. You guys were so super supportive of my my little floral sketch, and I so appreciate that. It was very, very kind of you. Thank you very much. I'm not sure where that is going to go or what that is going to do. I have a lot of apprehension about it, which I think most people do before they kind of embark on something new. But I am excited to see if that will go anywhere or what that becomes. So, but I do appreciate knowing all of you will be there to support me on my journey should I decide to take things in that direction. For her hair, I kept it pretty simple. I added shading. There's very clearly some pieces that are on top of other pieces, and so the top pieces should be lighter, shadows behind the so it's darker, so that part kind of pops up. And I use the same brown combination that I used for the post, just for continuity. I knew the background was going to be mostly blues. Not that I'm complaining, because blue is my boyfriend. But I knew that there would be some other colors because I have a bunch of different seahorses. I have this seaweed that I need to incorporate in. I've got the starfish that's up there with the seagull. So I wanted to just kind of keep it simple with my neutrals, and so I just used the same ones. Also, something to know, for the skin tones, I chose to go with a more Caucasian skin tone, but if you were doing a darker skin tone, a black or Latino, you would still probably need to supplement. This pop art set, I don't think, has quite the array of skin tones. And I mean, I'm sure it's not meant to. A lot of the colors that are in here are like they could maybe be used for skin tones are very yellowy. So unless your person has jaundice, it's probably going to be a no-go. Or if you're very adept at blending colors, kind of knocking that yellow back, maybe you could do it. But I will probably just end up investing in more skin tones. They have a whole skin tone set. So that's that. So we talked about the drawing. I mean, my week it hasn't been too bad. This is something that's, I guess, going to be up and coming on the horizon. Let's talk about the blues. So in this set, I told you there was only one blue because I forgot about the lightest blue that's in there. It's so light, like they're so far removed. So I did end up using both of the blues that were in the sketch marker set, as well as the V31, which is like a really pretty bright blue violet. But for the lighter blues, I did use my Copics. So you can see me adding a little bit of shading kind of to the top layers. And then you can do this either way. I added my shading vertically, so that it was darker at the bottom and then got lighter towards the top. But if you wanted something that was horizontal, you could do that as well. Just make your lines left to right instead of up and down. Also, you'll notice I am going directly over those posts. You have to color right over them, because if you don't, it's not going to look like they're under the water. So Copics are transparent. Sketch markers are transparent. You just color right over top of it, and it will give your posts this kind of blue tone that will make them appear to be underwater. Not to mention the total bottom of that, we're gonna disappear it. We're gonna make it go away, so that it blends in and it looks like it disappears at the bottom of the water. So here in a minute, I'm showing you what I'm doing. Basically, I'm just laying down little bits of color, and I will show you in like it's never regular time. Who are we kidding? It's like 2 times speed. I will show you me applying the darker blue at the bottom, but then I have to speed it up because I spent a lot of time, because it's just such a large area and I had so many things to color around. I spent a lot of time on the water. Obviously, it's the largest portion of my card. I don't have any regrets about it, but in order to fit it into a video, this video was still on the longer side. But so I did have to speed it up. It is all just the same thing that you see me doing here, the lines of color. There is no rhyme or reason to this. I don't want you to be like, oh, well, I have to put this here because Kelly put this here. No. You don't need to do one specific area. You just need kind of these stripe areas of color to get those things to blend and to get a interesting water look, so it's not just like totally flat and one note, which is what I was trying to avoid. So yeah, so here in a second we'll be speeding this. I'll be the super fast colorist. So yeah, we were talking about what? My life. Okay. The daycare. So my daycare lady, who is wonderful and we adore her, one of her daughters, she has 5 children herself, and one of her daughters is having her first baby. So she is super excited about that. And she is going to go her daughter lives out of state. So she's going to go spend time with her daughter to help her with her new baby, which means we are out. We have no daycare. We are very fortunate that both of our mothers are retired. And so they are going to be helping us take care of little Miss Jelly Bean so that both of us can still kind of get done what we need to get done for work. But it's going to be a little bit wild, I think, until we get onto some sort of a schedule. So that will be very, very interesting. We got the text message last night that it looked like her daughter was already like 3 centimeters dilated. So our daycare lady flew out today to go be with her daughter. I genuinely hope that she makes it on time before the baby is born. I'm sure her daughter would like to have her there. I know I didn't have my mom like in the delivery room when I had either one of my kids, but I certainly was looking for her and her assistance and comfort after my children were born 100%. So at this point, you can see it looks a little crazy because we have this super light top and super dark bottom. We're going to start working on blending that now with some midtones. So I'm using a B24 from Copic to just go over, that lighter part of the ocean to start to blend those darker colors. You may ask yourself, Kelly, why are you coloring all over the dark parts with that light marker? Because it's going to help blend it. I know that seems wild. I'm doing the same thing here with this BO2. I'm going right over all of the areas. Again, these alcohol markers are transparent, so we're going to be laying down different tones to help blend them, but also lighter colors lift darker colors when it comes to alcohol markers. So putting the lighter colors over the darker colors at the bottom are going to help saturate the paper and blend it. The alcohol markers blend in the fibers of your paper. So it's going to create more tones, which is always more interesting, but it is also going to help to blend them so that they're a little bit more seamless. Again, I didn't want mine to be flat. Like the intention is to put the kind of the stripies in. And we're going to do a little bit more to do some texture here in a few minutes. But again, going in with this lightest blue color intentionally, not going over everything because I'm not trying to bleach out the whole dark part, but I am trying to blend them together and create those multicolored tones just to make it look more interesting. It's a huge part of my card. So if the water is flat and boring, that's going to be very challenging for me. Here I'm going in with the blender pen from Sketch Marker. It works exactly like a Copic Zero marker to bleach out color, and I'm pushing the color out of the bubbles that are drawn into the stamp. And then I am additionally going to use this blender to kind of make my own bubbles into the background. This is what I was talking about when I'm talking about making things just a little bit more interesting. I'm just doing little circles of blender to kind of push that out as if there were more bubbles in the background from all the movement that they're creating. And just to add a little something, something. So now I'm going to go in and do the seaweed, and then I will color my mermaid and then my seahorses, and then we'll be done. I know. Amazing. So, anywho, she's going to go be with her daughter. After I had my children, like especially with Caitlin, because it was COVID, it could only be Eric and I in the hospital. So by the time I was coming home, I was definitely looking for some assistance for my family. So I don't blame her at all for wanting to go be with her child. It does kind of put us in a spot. So thankfully we have family that can help, because there's a lot of people who aren't in a position, to have their family close enough by to help, or that have family who are willing to help. So that will be interesting to see. For the mermaid tail, just something, I guess I like to create a lot of texture and a lot of interest. That's not always the case. Like, not everybody's always into that. So I'm blending 3 different colors. So my mermaid tail is going to go from teal, this bluish green, to purple to pink. I told you in the previous video that I super loved the pinks that were included in this set from Sketchmarker, and I meant it. I was going to work these into a card no matter what. I just really like them. I think, look how bright this pink is. It's so beautiful. And it doesn't, it's not bleaching out with some of the lighter colors, which has always been something that I've struggled with. So I did, there isn't like a super good dark pink, so I did supplement with my Copic markers for that. And then, because I like that texture, I am going to go in and do some stippling, just a series of small dots. And so I will do my darkest color into its next lightest color, and then when I do the mid-tone, I will go over the darkest color and the lightest color with the dots. When I do the lightest color, I will go over the lightest color and then the next color that it blends into. So I'll be dotting a little bit of my pink into my purple, a little bit of my purple into my teal, a little bit of my teal into my purple, and a little bit of purple into my pink. And this is just, again, going to create some nice texture. The scales are already drawn in there. You could go in and add shading individually to those scales. I found it to be much easier to add shading and movement and dimension just by doing the stippling. But you can do whatever works for you. There is no wrong way to do it. Your card is your card. My card is my card. If everybody was the same, the world would be so boring. So don't stress if that's not your thing. For this part, you can see I'm using this light blue to go over the entire tail. And again, this is because lighter colors will lift darker colors, and it's just going to create other tones in there. I use the same pink combination for 2 of my seahorses to create kind of a visual triangle. So I have the pink in the tail on the top right, I have this seahorse in the bottom left, and then I will have a third seahorse kind of in the left middle. And those I did all pink. I kind of went back and forth about what colors to do the other seahorses. Ultimately, I decided to do one of them teal, and this is me bringing in just a darker teal color for some added dimension. So I did this one little guy teal. Again, we have the teal in her tail, and then the teal sky, so I kind of have a little bit of a triangle there. And then the last color I chose to go with is yellow. And the reason that I did that is because I was already going to have to color that starfish yellow, and so it just made sense to make the other 2 seahorses yellow, plus yellow pops on blue. Like, it just pops off because it's so close to its complement, which is orange. And these are a little bit more golden. That's how I prefer my yellows. But yeah, they definitely pop out of the water that way, which I prefer. So, but feel free to color your seahorses whatever colors you like. So that's what's going on with the daycare. It will be very interesting, especially on the days where I've picked up dispatch and I'm actually working out of the house. It will require my husband to like be home on time. So his schedule is always kind of up in the air, which was one of the things that was a big, reason when we talked about me working full time from home. One of the benefits was the flexibility of it because his schedule is always wild. And when I was dispatching, my schedule was always wild. And so like one of us, like we had to make a move. You know what I'm saying? So I have like 2 days I think that I picked up in the month of February. I kept it super light. But so he's going to have to he's going to have to be home or we're going to have to pawn the babies off on one of our parents. So here I am going in with my white gel pen. I added some little dots to my starfish. I'm also adding some highlights to the top of my water. I am going right over those posts because they are sticking out of the water. So there would be water in front of them. So the white lines there would make sense. And then I went in and added a series of highlights to the little bubbles. I also added some more little white dot bubbles up toward the top. And then, of course, you guys knew this was coming because you saw me stipple that tail. So you know that I'm going to add white dots to my mermaid to make her a little bit more shimmery. And then I also added some to the backs of my seahorses. Not their bellies, just their backs. And then the other thing I did, which I don't normally do when I'm doing kind of that glittery technique, is it just seemed like it was a lot of white. It just really was kind of like bolded in my face. And in order to kind of tone that down a little bit, I went back in with the lightest color from each one and did the dots again with the marker right over the white. So there are some that are true white, but then there's other ones that have a little bit of color over top of them. And this kind of toned that sparkly look back a little bit. And that's okay because it was really just kind of too much. And that's okay. I can acknowledge when something is a little bit too much. So I went ahead and did that. And then the last thing that I needed to do was stamp the sentiment. And for that, I actually chose the one that came with the seagulls. There's lots of really good ones in here, especially if you're a lover of the ocean. Don't mind me picking up my Misty. I couldn't see if it was straight or not. So this one says, smell the sea and feel the sky, let your soul and spirit fly. I thought that was super cute and it kind of matched with this playful little mermaid down below. So I stamped that in the top left. I added some glitters, of course I did. I added some clear glitters to mostly just the top half of the water, and then my mermaid and my seahorses. I also added real glitters with stardust stickles just in a bunch of little dots to add some actual glitter, and then that was pretty much the whole card. So I hope that you guys see that you can use these two kinds of markers together. I hope that you will head over and hop along with the blog and see all the other endlessly talented people who have used these sets. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. I hope that you are having a wonderful weekend, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.